right? You got a tread waiting for you, so it's a hand grenade. Now, depending on how you go up this fire escape, if you go up and fall through this tread, you fall backwards. You scrape, break something. You go down a fire escape and you put your foot through. You snap your knee in what direction? In the forward direction. And you go back to work ever? Or are you going to have a slight limp for the rest of your life when you break your knee forward? So, this is why you're never going to get on a fire escape anymore. We walk up and we do hammer tests.
Okay, I think that's it. I'm going to stay down here so I don't get hurt.
Falling from above.
And what I'll do now is I have my red, and I'll highlight it in red
See how quickly that tread gave way?
to say that this is...
Now, that's what traps you guys going up. You guys going up, gingerly or not paying attention or going down. You step on the tread the wrong way, your foot goes through, your body motion is still forward. What's going to happen to you? You're going to snap your knee forward going down. You're going to snap your knee backwards going up. You have a better chance of breaking the tread going up. That's what you have to worry about. So you don't need to get on these fire escapes to see that there's been no maintenance over 50 to 75 years. Got it? This is going to come up to a couple of times. Every fire escape, your International Fire Code 1028.6 says what? Depending on structural condition, who gets the final say whether a load test is coming? Every fire escape that's going to be spot repaired automatically gets what? Because the code says what? And because they spot repaired it and they left behind rivets and square head bolts, what are you automatically issuing? Only because even if that bolt and that rivet is pristine and tight and you can whack it with a hammer and do all kinds of things, it's old. Why are you load testing it? Because it's old. That's the only reason you're load testing is because we haven't even gone into the attachment into the buildings. That's coming in. 98% of all fire escapes you can see from the outside of a building. It's right there. You can see everything. But the only reason somebody spot repairs a fire escape and they leave behind original hardware that is good to excellent, guys, and they fully painted it, why are you load testing it after they spot repaired it? Because it's old. That's it. You're only doing it because it's old. And you haven't even answered the final pieces. How is it into the building? Does anybody have x-ray eyes seeing what's going on in the building? Though it's been raining in the parapet wall, coming down between the two veneers and stuff for 75 years. Do you know what that is? Well, that's what the load test is going to tell you. So the load test is because something is old, that's good to excellent. That's why you load test it. That's your guarantee. But then that load test also sees if it's still ready to rip out of the building. Because now we're going to try to avoid the ripping out of the building. Because what do you think it's going to cost on average to take out a few bricks around a connection with a mason and then repack it back after we verified it? Is it fair to say it's going to cost anywhere from $250 to $500 per connection to take it away, open it up and then put it all back? How about if I tell you that I can replace a connection, leave the original one that looked good to me to begin with, I let sleeping dogs lie, and I drill a hole 5 inches away, 3/4, I drill it 8 to 12 inches deep, and I put a new epoxy bolt in there, Hilti epoxy bolt, and then I mechanically fasten this connector back to the original support, so now I'm at 200%, the original one that I don't want to open, and it cost me $50 to put in this Hilti. No? Somebody doesn't like it? Oh, why don't you like it?
Complete.
Well, that's a through bolt. Epoxy bolts are equivalent.
What are you connecting it to?
Well, I'm going to show all that stuff into, but again, I'm just trying to show you that another alternative to repacking or reinforcing the original connection, just give it a brand new connection off to the side, okay? We'll talk about plating, we'll talk about putting an angle shelf all the way across and the epoxy bolting all that and then mechanically fastening it back. There's many alternatives. I'm just trying to say you don't have to spend $250 to $500 per connection to verify a wall connection. You guys are talking about a through bolt that's on wood structures. Most wood structures have the through bolt. All cement structures are buried 8 to 12 inches deep into the masonry back wall. And I'll show you that, okay? But we're cool on this, right? Depending on structural condition. So if somebody spot repairs anything in your city, welds it, changes a few bolts, what are you gonna order on them? How do they get away from that load test? They just go back to the same structure and do what? To a couple more things. Change the bolts. Right?
But that
So-
would be on the engineer report to do that, right?
Well, we're gonna go over that, what the engineer's supposed to be telling. We're just telling what you guys want as a standard. Do you guys want as a standard, based on your fire code, that every spot repaired fire escape in your city will require a load test? Is that a safe thing to say, and is it the wrong thing to say? Am I saying something wrong here?
Well, that's a safety net.
You want the guarantee, right? Guarantee comes in a load test. Nobody gets sued after a load test, right? So you want a load test. Somebody did a spot repair, great, gotta go to a load test. They're gonna cry to you and say, dude, I got a load test price. Dude, $8,000. You say, well, why don't you take that $8,000 and refurbish it, and there is no load test. Are you pushing load tests? No, I'm not pushing load tests. They're a pain in the ass. You gotta drag bags around of sand, water, or whatever, and guess who's the guy that's gotta put the bag on the thing, and it may fall or not fall? Yeah, just one more bag, Charlie. Charlie, hold off on the bag for a second, because, whoa. So load testing is not recommended, because it's destructive and it's costly, and it doesn't buy any paint, doesn't buy any bolts.
One guy just called me while I was on the phone, 3,000, 5,000, just do a load test.
Yeah.
But they're waiting for insurance to pay them. They got the repair done, but they never did the test.
Well, they spot repair. Now, if you go back to that same guy and say, listen, you, instead of load testing with that money, refurbish, now the life cycle is every 20 to 25 years for the load testing. The load testing is every 5 years, guys. Every 5 years, okay? So, and you guys got the backup of the NFPA. What's the NFPA say? The authority having jurisdiction shall accept by load test or other evidence of strength. So that supports you, doesn't it? What's your building department say? Building department says the same thing. Examine and or test and certify. Isn't the certify other evidence of strength? So I'll either take a certification, a certified refurbished fire escape, or I'll take a load tested fire escape. Those are my guarantees. Will you ever take an opinion letter that says, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, the fire escape is structurally sound today?
Where does it say you have to, that you should load test every 5 years?
Again, some states, Mass, until when that fireman almost got killed, they had, the law was, you must be maintained at all times. You guys have in New Jersey, must be maintained at all times. The state comes in, I still haven't found out where it is, and they say you have to inspect your fire escape every 5 years. Where it's written, I can't find it yet, but so.
Multiple family dwelling regulations.
Right.
The state of New Jersey inspects buildings.
See, this is where I find this stuff out.
Yeah.
The whole building though, not the front.
They inspect the whole building part.
So there you go.
He's not
So,
talking about.
It's a 5-year cycle.
so perfect. So this is how I find this stuff out. I go to 50 states, and this is, sometimes it happens. This NFPA thing, I didn't find it out until 2 classes after I taught a full NFPA class. It was 2 classes later in Concord, New Hampshire, that an old guy was in the, I'm like, dude, I still don't know where it says that you're supposed to do it. And the guy goes, oh, I have the book right here. And he showed me that. It was like, hallelujah. I said, dude, you know, the authority having jurisdiction. So tell me, the whole building requires a 5-year inspection.
Theoretically, you all know that the building
No.
does,
Three
but I never
units-
go to a building later
BA
on.
guys, called
Three
BA.
That I
units
couldn't
or
write
lar-
up to
three units
the fire
or larger
escape anyway.
are required to get a green card from the state of New Jersey. The Department of Community Affairs has state housing inspectors that inspect, and you pay for that inspection.
Every 5
Part
years.
of the requirement under their code would be this.
So there you go. You guys are basically sitting on a 5-year rule from the state, and you are asking for the certificate on the fire escape in your city, saying, where's your 5-year certification? They're
Where's
like,
your
"Well,
green, where's your green card that the state has done the inspection? And if I see that green card, my assumption is they inspected what their requirements are.
'Cause I get a lot of calls from New Jersey that say, you know, the whole house thing violations, and one of them is, certify your fire escape.
Right.
But we don't have anything in our code that, he's talking about the whole building. but
No,
there's
3
nothing-
units or larger in the state of New Jersey.
Right, but it says nothing about that the fire escape has to be tested every 5 years.
No, he's saying it's sort of encompassing. It's
Right,
saying
you're
the
doing the
whole
whole
building
building.
has to be done every 5
But-
years. They're looking for certification every 5. Thereby, they're looking for a certification every 5 years on their.
No, you're assuming that.
No, I'm just,
No.
he says it's
No,
a 3-year,
You're reading into that.
I want a 6-family.
You're reading into that.
They, according to what you're saying, the encompass of the whole building, exterior and interior,
Correct.
everything is under the umbrella of that 5 year.
Okay.
Because they wanted me to do some work, and I'm like, don't I have a time to say everything is encompassed building, the whole building is under that 5 year. Unless there's a complaint from the local
that-
authority,
Then
then
it's-
they
and
take
it's-
jurisdiction.
That's us.
They'll take jurisdiction and say, listen, I don't care what the state said.
That's
They only
correct.
want the registration money. All right?
Okay.
I want the violation fixed.
But,
You know, and
So,
that-
but here's what we're doing, but here's the deal. As an inspector, I'm going in and I'm doing the 5-year inspection. So I'm doing the inspection and I'm either gonna say it's okay or not. There's nothing in the code that says I gotta have another entity come in and certify that fire extinguisher, their fire escape every 5 years.
Well, you're right, but
You're
what
adding
I'm,
into that.
what I'm reading in the code, it says a fire escape must be maintained at all times.
At all times.
Right.
So that, there could be a flaw. You guys will wrap it in whatever way you want. I'm not here to agree or disagree.
That's a means of egress.
Huh?
That's a means of egress.
Right.
So.
All exit
it's-
discharges.
Right, so it's in our codes,
It's in the code.
in chapter 9.
Right. So again, guys, I don't want to say that I have the answer here. I'm just telling you, and he comes up with a certain piece that says the 5 years is a state green
It's the same thing
card.
when you require
Yes.
an electrician to certify all your hardwired smoke detectors are in working order. You'd put it on test data from your electrician. Fire prevention does that all the time. The
Perfect.
state does it.
So if you guys can, and again,
Same thing.
this is where I come in, these repair procedures guidelines.
Right.
This is where I work with somebody like Matt. I say, Matt, give me something that I can write that puts it into your language that basically encompasses everything we just beat up on
Start
today.
having
Okay?
fire escapes.
So there's the 5 years, the green card rule that basically forces the 5-year rule of what have you done. So unless the green card rule picks up a fire escape problem or you pick up a fire escape problem, it's literally every 5 years there's a look at the entire structure and maybe the fire escape will get picked up at that time.
Or any town or city that has a city ordinance.
And that's maintained at all
And
times
that's
then.
what we're working on right now. We're working on a 5-year city ordinance where we're gonna do these tags.
Exactly, and they do that, and that's, if you can't wait for the state, and again, I've been doing this for 5 years already here, and like you said, if you can't wait for the state to trickle down, you basically, and that's why I do these little smaller sessions, because you get a lot more done this way than a lot of times doing it from the top down. Too many I's to dot and too many T's to cross, and nothing ever gets done, but local ordinances, bypass this. Guys, this is the tag that we came up, now, I went out to Seattle to teach a class out there for them, was it preventive or was it after the fact? After the fact, after 3 guys smoking a cigarette on a fire escape fell and didn't die, but the fire escape ripped from the building. So we introduced a confidence test to them, and what is a confidence test? It's a yes/no question. So you have a copy of the confidence test. You go to seattle.gov, you go to their fire prevention, and on their website they have all the test documentation you use for sprinklers, for alarms, and they finally put in there fire escapes. So if you look at that briefly right now, and it's sort of in the middle towards the back, see this confidence test? When you read it, it's an engineer's worst nightmare. It's a final exam. It asks you general questions about painting, but then when you get into the structural, one of the key words that it says here is structure exterior, right? All critical materials, connections, and/or joints are 100% free of all internal rust or rot. What engineer you know has done a full inspection to guarantee that? And then the last piece, we talk about anchoring devices, number 19. Are the connections of the anchors into the building sufficient to support the required loads as verified by methods acceptable to the structural engineer? Example, did you do an internal inspection, load test, or reinforce or duplicate the connection? Because once you do one of those things, do we have to load test it? No. So this is how we're gonna get around the bad part of the fire escape. So we have a sample, and we already gave, if any of these cities would like an example of industry standard tags, industry standard in confidence testing, and industry standard repairs and procedures guidelines, you know what I'm saying? And this is, we'll go a little bit further, and I'm gonna read you what's required on the industry standard guidelines, that's the tags.
Oh, these tags here.
Yeah, those are the tags. Let's
Let's say you mentioned about you condemn, or you put fire escape out of service.
I don't put it out, so I go there and inspect, and if it's a red one, I'm supposed to, in certain states like California, I can't leave the site until I call the captain of the nearest firehouse. He comes down and basically says, okay, you can leave now, and he'll take it from there, and basically shut the building down, do a fire watch, whatever he deems necessary. It's not
Are you monitoring the incident going on now in the Bronx?
Like in New York,
12-story high-rise just vacated?
they took the whole fire escape out.
Yeah, I heard that yesterday, believe it or not, an engineer took all the fire escapes off.
Exactly.
That's not the one?
That's
Yes.
the one.
he was advised by the
Advised by the
engineer,
architect.
by the architect,
That he can take them off,
that he can take them off.
because he had 2 staircases.
So now you got 206 families had to vacate the building.
Right. Well,
I mean,
there's some bad, let me tell you about why a fire escape was on the building. A fire escape was the answer to anything that was a piece of property where you couldn't physically put in 2 good staircases. You couldn't meet the 75 rules, the 75-foot rule in either direction. So you know how you answer it with a fire escape? You got a mansion that you used to live in all by yourself with, you and your 3 kids. You know what you do when you sell that out and you make 5 condos out of it? You know what the answer is to it? Fire escapes. That's the only thing that's ever gonna make it work mathematically is a fire escape. So anytime somebody has a structure and there's some dream by the architect or the engineer that they're gonna remove the fire escape and make this thing work, I says, it's impossible, unless you're gutting the whole building inside and you're gonna eat up a lot of valuable real estate that you used to sell as condo space. Now, dude, you gotta keep this fire escape because that's the only answer to this building because it was done 75 years ago. And there's one more thing coming down your way where you guys I get these calls every now and then that says, hey, the fire official says that I don't have to have a fire escape if I put in a sprinkler system. So I have a means of egress, my primary and a sprinkler system, I don't need a second. And I'm like, okay, and believe it passes in some places. But you know what happens when the insurance company comes in a year later? They say, where's your second means of egress? I said, oh, Mary said I could put a sprinkler in and I spent 40 grand putting in a
So
sprinkler.
in some building, there is no place to put a second one.
No, there is, there's always room for a fire escape. But here's the thing, that sprinkler system, the insurance company says, I don't care. I want a fire escape. Like, but the firefighter says, I don't need one. I said, yeah, okay, but we won't insure you. You're a high-risk building. So then this poor guy now loses insurance because he didn't put in a fire escape, he put in a sprinkler. And God forbid there's a water main problem anywhere nearby during a fire on that building, because now what does he doesn't have? Doesn't have a shower. You know what I'm saying? So, confidence test. This is what keeps the engineers honest.
You know what's gonna actually, as long as they have 2 means of egress,
Yes.
they can eliminate the fire escape, you're saying?
Yeah, in some cases, if you have 2 internal stairs
Right,
and it meets the 75-foot rule,
like the one Matt was talking about in New York, that they.
they think they did. They thought they did. The architect thought he did. This is sometimes cockiness. This is what happens when people don't call Matt and say, hey, Matt, I've got a building and I think I could take down the fire escape. No, because they don't go back to fire prevention. They don't work it out. They don't sit down with
They don't
you.
go nowhere.
They don't go nowhere. And then all of a sudden, there's just this architect says, okay, take it down, I'm good. I know the mayor. All of a sudden, boom.
Even if it's stairways and not stairwells where it's fire enclosed, they would still would accept that?
It's back to you guys, meaning everything is an idea. It was built originally the right way for some reason. As soon as somebody that thinks they're smart today think they can just eliminate these things, that's when everybody gets into trouble. Because whenever you do stuff like that, this guy would not have a vacated building if he had in his hands fire prevention sign off to take all the fire escapes down. He'd have also, aside from that, building commissioner sign off saying, yes, take it down. If I go to the governor and say, dude, governor, please sign here, I'm about to take this fire escape down. Then come back and say, no, and vacate my building. I said, wait a second.
He basically put the cart before the horse, he didn't do it with permits. He listened, had some bad information.
Bad information.
And there's another story behind it, he's trying to vacate everybody.
Trying to vacate.
Control.
You can sell the property, vacate it,
Oh,
and make it
Look
condos.
forward to the story.
Nah, he-
He's actually,
my hero. He's
you're
my
actually
hero.
probably gonna see him be arrested tomorrow, I bet. Or very soon.
Right, fine.
So here's the best thing that we had. We have the same confidence test. We already gave you guys a copy of a confidence test. When you read it, it doesn't talk about anybody, it doesn't break any laws, it just asks standard, industry standard questions that should be answered when you're inspecting a sprinkler or an elevator or anything. There's standard questions. That's all we put in here, standard questions. So this is not a government document, this is an industry standard documentation, which is a fire escape inspection. Related to treads and cantilevers and bolts and supports, that's all it talks about. Now, this is the other thing that we liked. When we were in Tacoma, Tacoma added one more, and we love this, and we made it part of our game plan. They have the yearly checklist. So not only do you have a 5-year checklist, we have the yearly. You know who does this yearly? And they're asked about the bolts, they're asked about the paint, and they're asked about moving parts. You know who does this one? Every year during your yearly inspections? The maintenance guy, the management company, they all do this. And you know what's the greatest thing about this? On a 5-story fire escape with a cantilever at the bottom, and you're coming in for this 1 year that they sign at the bottom. You know what the best part is on a 5-story with a cantilever? No, you say, hey, I'm here for that document. Can you walk the fire escape for me? Are you gonna walk the fire escape or are they gonna walk the fire escape? So this includes the gooseneck over to the roof. So what do you tell the maintenance guy to do?
Keep walking.
He's gonna walk over the roof, because you're downstairs, right? And he's gonna come down over the roof, get on it, feel safe, come down all the stairs, activate the cantilever, which is gonna drop 2 to 3 feet per second and hit the ground. And you just sit down there and says, looks like it works.
Activate the insurance paper.
Tell me about a gooseneck.
Say what?
Tell me about those.
Goosenecks?
The roofer went and did a roof, and one job I did, I got halfway up on it and started pulling back because he had to pull the freaking thing down. Start over.
Here's the tags, guys. This is the tags.
And usually it's not in it.
Excuse me?
The yearly one, they can do so it's not in it.
No, it's not, the example of it is not there, but it was a recent addition. But guys, see the tags? Over the next 3 to 5 years, all you're gonna be doing is putting tags on fire escapes. The only one that puts the white ones on that says there's no deficiencies is fire escape engineers and structural engineers, that's it. But you are not gonna change anything that you're doing. You're gonna do your normal inspections, and every time you see a fire escape that's all rusted, what do you put on it? If there's dangling treads, as soon as you put it on there, guess what it says? When you read the tags, you know what it says? Who do they contact first? Contact the city official. It's gonna have your number and your information on here. Got it? So you're identifying fire escape. You telling anybody to inspect? You're not telling them to inspect, you're just identifying yellow ones. The process of what they have to do is already on the tag. So you walk around with these and you laminate them in your office,
Oh, okay.
and you just zip tie them to the fire escape. Somebody's gonna call you. You do that with sprinklers, you do that with anything else. You guys leave some tags on some of the alarm systems and stuff, don't you have a tagging process?
Well, we don't tag them out, we have their company tag.
So this is tagging out. This is already happening in Seattle and in Tacoma. Portland, Oregon already accepted this process.
Fire officials, the fire marshals are doing this?
Yes, Seattle. Every city, every fire escape in Seattle needs to have a tag. And their tags is 17 inches by 9 inches. These tags are 8.5 by 11s. They have these big, I'll show you monsters, I'll show you.
Are they
Yeah.
They'll
fireproof?
be at every window, right?
Excuse me?
At every window like that,
Nope,
right?
7 to 10 feet off the ground on the fire escape, permanently affixed to the fire escape. You'll see an example of it, guys. I got photographs of it, what it looks like, in Seattle. Well, while we're here, let's talk about this Department of Procedures and Guidelines, what this was. I was teaching a class, I had inspectors, building inspectors in the class, and I had one of those state building inspectors that monitors the class and offers advice and clarifies. And we were talking about, what do we gotta do about ordinances and changing codes and changing, we don't have to change anything when you already have the ability to write from your department, what's called the Departmental Procedures and Guidelines. It's a document on your letterhead with your information on it, and it basically tells people how you'd like to see it. You're not changing the code, all you're doing is talking about how you'd like to see it. So can everybody turn to their Departmental Procedures and Guidelines, and we can make an example of one of these for your city. So let's just read. You wrote a violation, and I keep picking on Mary because you're representing all the women. Yes, yes, in the back corner there. All right, guys, let's take a look at Departmental Procedures and Guidelines. Do I have the one here? I don't know if this made the cut. Oh, it does, right, page 2, sorry, right at the beginning, guys. From the beginning, 1 or 2 pages in, this one. Okay, so what this is gonna say, guys, and I'll read it very quickly for you. It's gonna have your name and your phone number at the top. Doesn't even have to have National Fire Escape Association at the top. Have your name and your inspector, phone numbers and everything, and your address at the top, got it? It's gonna have yours, we'll do this free for you. Or we can send you the Word document or it's a Word document, and you can modify it yourself. We clip over here your website. So we go to your website, move over to Fire Prevention or Building Department, whichever one's easier, and we just clip that to say, hey, this is how you call in, and this is the people associated with that. In here, and at the bottom, we will put your code, the New Jersey Fire Code, and a lot of times we back it up at the bottom with the NFPA. Not that the NFPA, it just helps clarify what the code above you is saying. But now, you have this document in your office, you have it emailable, you have it faxable, and you just wrote a violation, Mary. And somebody goes, well, what do I do next? So, well, do you want to come in and get a pamphlet, or you want me to fax you the pamphlet, or you want me to mail you the pamphlet? So this pamphlet would say, this is what you're gonna tell your engineer to do. This is what you're gonna tell your repair vendor to do. And this is what you're gonna tell your painter to do if he's not the same repair vendor. So let's start with the inspector. And you guys tell me if I'm breaking the law in what I'm about to say. I'm covering, this is for the engineer of record. Structural engineers or others acceptable to the building official. Could be architects, could be fire escape engineers, could be fire escape inspectors. Otherwise, structural engineers are always acceptable, right? So in layman's terms, the city official, that's you guys, is looking for a registered structural engineer or others qualified and acceptable by the fire and or code official to do a critical examination in lieu of a live load test. Criteria submitted or discussed prior to inspection. So that means if somebody's going to inspect one of your violations, what do you expect to hear from? You expect to hear from that inspector because he's going to call you up and say, hey man, how you doing? I'm calling from ABC Engineering. We do fire escape inspections. And issue a written verification and certification that all connections are free of internal rust or rot, as well as the original hardware, square heads and bolts or rivets are reinforced or replaced in lieu of a live load test. So this is that thing that we keep talking about. If we're going to spot repair, I'm going to go to a load test, but if I can prove to you that we swapped out every bolt, is there a load test coming? All supports, through bolts or cemented into the wall must be verified and certified in lieu of a live load test. So if I can verify a connection without duplicating it, will that satisfy you? And I have to document it and photograph it. Will that satisfy the connection into the wall? Okay? A fire escape confidence test and tag must be submitted if fire escape passed. The report with photos identifying violations for repairs must include repair criteria submitted to the official for repair vendor to use as a guide during and with engineer oversight of permitted repairs. So is anything going to happen on that fire escape until the engineer of record and the fire official have chatted a little bit? Is anybody going to do anything? A fire escape confidence test and tags identifying certified condition are then submitted. Recommended cycle for load testing is 20 years after a total refurbishment or as required by city official, meaning you guys can go there and 10 years from now make them do another load test if something occurred that you didn't like. Yes?
How much time you give them to get it fixed? You know, if they need to get it repaired?
It's a great question. With everybody, I'm either poor, under, what do you call it, one of these refinancing deals, I have no money, I just lost my job. Here's what you can do on the fire escape. First of all, can you take the fire escape out of the equation and for about $1,000 to $2,000 a month, can you get a scaffolding company to come in and scaffold the whole side of a building? An average building, 3 stories. Right? And have full good stairs in there with railings and all that stuff, and basically they'll kind of put something to a window.
We just had that happen on Central Avenue, fire escape, fallen, we made them remove it, scaffolding company came in, bridged it, 2 scissor staircase up to the 2nd and 1st floor, down the staircase.
And that's a temporary thing. How long can we do that $1,000 deal? How long?
It lasted about 4 months, he was a little slow in removing it.
No, it's okay, but
But
the scaffolding is an immediate, right? So I don't care how much it's gonna cost to fix your fire escape. I have an immediate order that we can all scaffold it immediately because you think you're not paying attention to this fire escape situation. Number 2 is, yes, can we come in and do a triage on a fire escape? You bet you can. You can walk in and triage a fire escape with, rebolting areas that have fallen. You can break bolts that have huge rust and just put new bolts in there. Don't take out the rust, just put in new bolts. And you can have a fire escape emergency repaired, which makes it functional until such time that certified repair work can be done. So that's called an emergency repair. So scaffolding, emergency repairs, and then a game plan with some official that says, you need 3 months? You need 5 months? You need a year? Because we can work with clients, and this is what we do. We would do the emergency repairs, and that could buy them 1 to 3 months. Then they have to schedule, because the one that says okay to any plan is the city official, and the authority having jurisdiction. And they say, yeah, they have no money, it's a bad situation, whatever. They're going to do the repairs over a 6-month period. So all of a sudden now, you're allowing them to basically drag out the repair process because it's already been secured. Repaired second over whatever time you give them, because you can get a slumlord that you're going to give what kind of time to. So with little old ladies, you give them that time. And when do you want it painted? Will you let the little old lady paint it next year?
No.
After it's been fully refurbished this year? No money? situation?
It all depends, like I said, in the wintertime,
No, not even winter time.
Yeah.
Do you have the courtesy to basically allow an emergency repair, structural repairs over time, because it's always safe, you guys all, and it's all under a permit, so there's always a visual, let's go verify the situation. And then can I paint it next year with because I'm in a very bad situation?
Of course.
They would have to apply for variance or get it approved.
Can I fully refurbish, and I have that coming up now here in Newark, can I fully refurbish a fire escape? And if I'm spot repairing it, and then can I push the load test for a year later?
I thought you were saying you were fully refurbishing. What was it?
No, I'm not for, I'm spot repairing it, and then push the load test over for next year. Well, that's one, a company's gonna ask that of
What's the
the
cost
official.
of expense of replacing them?
A typical fire escape that has, let's say, $20,000 worth of repairs, costs you $75,000 to replace it.
And what's for the new stair tower in the building?
Yeah, that's what I meant. So a typical, let's put it this way, the average repair for a 3 to 5 story fire escape with a cantilever at the bottom is gonna be 15 to 25 grand. Full repair, paint job, refurb. If you're gonna be going for the same fire escape system, 3 to 5 story fire escape, it's gonna be $50,000, $75,000.
But you're talking these old fire escapes like here in Jersey City that are 50 or 75 years old. Back then, they didn't have the bolts we have now. They were all steel bolts.
No, well, I don't understand the question. We're gonna
The
replace the
bolt,
bolts.
the through bolt that goes through.
Oh, yeah,
the
I'll cover through
outside,
bolts.
Yeah.
I think you guys have a worry about through bolts, but only 5% of the fire escapes you're dealing with, which is the wood structure, have that plate. Everything else is cemented into the pocket, only 8 to 12 inches deep. You guys are gonna be amazed a little bit, but I'll cover that.
But a
It's-
lot of them are through bolted with a plate on the inside.
Right,
and stuff.
wood structures.
And brick.
Some, very few, only factories that had the exposed interior walls, that they do that, but I'll show you, it's okay. But just so you know, you guys know, these things buried 8 to 12 inches deep into masonry, they're safe.
But the gray bolt back then, 50, 75 years ago, don't have the rust inhibitor in it like the newer ones today.
You're correct, you are correct. So, but we'll cover that, and that's what the load test is for, is to verify that part. But here's what the tags look like in Seattle. Here's what it looks like, 7 to 10 feet off the ground, permanently affixed to the fire escape. And that's a white one. You care to, you don't have to read that running down the alleyway, do you?
No,
You
but
just
I-
have to know as a fireman that a white tag means what? It's okay.
Sorry.
Here's what our tag looks like, and here's the information. And from the ground, can you read when the next inspection date is? Do you know who inspected it, who repaired it, and all the licenses and all the phone numbers associated with that situation? Do you have to go back to the office and find this information out? Or do you know exactly when the next inspection date is?
Copies of these fake ones, I think.
Except the red one, they tear down.
Huh?
The red ones, they'll just rip them off.
Well, you already have, the red ones, they already have other focus on them anyway. Guys, this is a tower, and it's kind of funny, I got a call 2 days ago about this tower that I inspected 5 years ago, 3 years ago. This is a training tower, and when I went to inspect it, I knocked down all these treads on a training tower that they were using every day. Your training towers have this kind of problem. Just recently, I got a call 2 days ago. The chief has swapped out, and a new guy called me 2 days ago, and he said, Cisco, Chief Cardillo is no longer here, and one of my guys fell through the fire escape. I said, what do you mean, that fire escape that I shut down 3 years ago that you guys didn't have money to fix? Well, they had somebody come in and fix it, and the tread that fell was the tread just before the ones that they fixed. I said,
Maybe they were really training you.
They want me to go back, but look at all that rust in the connections. These are all the treads I knocked out with a hammer test. Remember that simple hammer test? They fixed all those, and then they put it back into training, and the guy just fell through it again.
Did you
2 or
send
3
out
days.
your reports to the fire department?
Excuse me?
Did you, when you do an inspection, do you send them to the fire department?
Do you want me to send it to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Because in some states, they say we can't send reports to you unless you ask for them. Are you asking for a report?
Yeah.
Okay, so then, yes, we always send it to you. Because you think my owner is gonna let me send you something?
No.
Oh. But you know what I tell them every time I walk into any building, and this is what's required, before anybody goes and inspects anything in your city, who are they supposed to call? City official. Matt, you want reports?
Well, yeah.
Okay, so I have to give the report, otherwise they'll yank my license.
So usually, you're gonna give us a report based on us doing our inspection, saying, hey, paint's great,
Right.
repair.
As a matter of fact, in Seattle, you have to send them a pass and a fail report. So every time I inspect, I'm supposed to send out a form, pass or fail. If it failed, I'm supposed to send them a copy of the report, not just passing ones, failed ones, I gotta send him a copy.
Well,
And I can't make a plan until I speak with him, because he can't pull a permit with the building department until we come up with a plan and to know what's the V in the road.
And I
Are they
would
going
prefer-
spot repair
I
and
would
load test?
rather have a failed report
Oh, yeah.
given to you, so I can take action on it, because after you give them a report, they're not gonna say, okay, our fire escape failed, let's notify the fire department, yeah, okay.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, if there's a life safety issue, this is the kind of stuff we ask. If there's a life safety issue, you want me to stand there until you arrive? Because that's my license in California. If I don't do that, I lose my license. So in California, I have a life safety issue. I gotta call the captain of the closest fire station. I gotta wait there until the guy shows up. Then he just takes over. I don't have to say anything. He said, dude, broken tread, I gotta go. It's like, I got another inspection to go to.
And all they're gonna do is call fire division, because they don't have a clue.
No, that's their job. Their job is to basically now shut down the building because it has that, or issue a fire watch, or to basically push the guy into the next step. So this is funny that this guy just called me a couple days. How much rust we got here, guys? Right? Yeah, this is on a soldier's home, a veteran soldier's home. These are the fire escapes on them. So the war didn't kill him. Guess what's going to get him? All right? Look how much rust is in these connections. Took them 3 years to finally get the funding to fix that. 3 years.
It's our government, please.
What's going on here, guys? Smashes and grabs and such? Now, these things happen all the time. Trash trucks, cement trucks. Right? This is our hammer test. 3-pound hammer, simple 3-pound hammer, right? This is a city hall. See the missing threads? This is a great one. We had a school that called us to replace a fire escape. The facilities guy called us and said, dude, I've got a kindergarten through 8th grade. This fire escape is ready to hurt something. So it wasn't the fire department, it wasn't the building department, it wasn't a violation. The facility guy said, dude, this is the stairs the kids use every day to go to class. Go to recess. One story, second story down. I went there when I did the inspection. This had so much rust in it that I actually saved it. Very rare do I get to save pieces of a fire escape. And I used this section of the fire escape, I used it in a class on January 26th of this year. It was a show and tell. I actually had it physically in the room, so we had 100 inspectors in the room, and I said, guys, and I showed you all the wrong ways to fix a fire escape. So we actually took it and we showed you every wrong way you could ever fix a fire escape that people are doing now, including welding the treads from above, that clip above. See all the rock, because it was into the dirt, of the schoolyard. Look how much rust is here, and look how much rust is sitting in there. So we basically took this and we brought it in as a model so we can show all the wrong ways. See, welded from underneath. See, quick little weld there. See, this is typical, see the original hardware? I got rust in the connection, you bring the welding guy and he welds the nose. That's it. Now that tread ain't going anywhere for about 6 months. But as it grows in rust, what happens to the weld? Rips it and it falls, right? So these are this is what you get for a Band-Aid. They quickly paint over this, and then what happens? Can't see it. But you see any original hardware in the fire escape, what are you going to automatically order? Depending on the structural condition, and you saw what?
Square bolts.
Are you, is it, what do you call it? Is it suspect? You see a square bolt on a structure, is it suspect?
Yep.
You want a guarantee, and you get a guarantee doing what? I don't want to do the load test, I don't have any money.
Replace them all.
Change the bolt. Can I change the bolt and keep the rust?
What if you put a new one in, like you double? Remember what you were saying? You could put another one in just like it?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that, that's the cement into the wall. But right now, can I leave rust in the connections and change the bolt? And if they do, what are you gonna order?
Both customers.
Right? You got that load test, which is thousands of dollars, to say, dude, I don't wanna write you fines and fees, but the load test is
The
gonna
rust,
screw.
they basically wasted their money changing them out because they're gonna end up.
You have to open them up, get all the rust out, silicone shut it, put it back in. Ready? So, show you the next piece, ready? That's what you guys have been doing for 50 to 75 years here. You see a welding truck underneath the fire escape. Does the EPA even allow that? Does he have a fire permit? When was the last time you saw a fire escape repair permit? Fire escape fire permit? Never.
See, here in Jersey City, we issue a one-time, they're registered as a life hazard use, the welding company. And the welding company, if they do work outside of their business, they get a once-a-year welding permit, and they can spot weld.
Oh, my God.
And we do, I mean, we
Need
do
one of
spot
those.
check them and say, let me see a permit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the structure. I was able to save it because it was a pain in the ass, because we just needed to demo this thing. But I saved the top and I saved the bottom, and we did a full repair to show what the proper repair is. But look, we were able to basically use it now as a show and tell piece of all the wrong ways to fix fire escapes, okay? This is the old one in the schoolyard. I took it out December 19th. I only had so many days before the kids came back on the 3rd of January. And that's the new one right there. We actually made it go to the right and off to the side. See it? You guys see it? Remember the kids at the detention center? If doing drugs don't kill you, what will kill you?
So this is considered fire escape too, right here? these doors?
Yep. All exit discharges,
Okay.
all exterior steel wooden stairs must be inspected. We're only touching fire escapes now, but you guys, the code says, all exit discharges. That's everything that's outside, that's not covered and protected from weather, must be examined under 1028.6. We're not even there yet. You guys are gonna start on fire escapes, but then you're gonna have more, the green card situation is gonna pick up all these others.
Some catwalks. We don't-
Catwalks, I'm gonna cover that right now. Right? So from now on, when you inspect a fire escape, you ever gonna get on it?
Nope.
Can you see everything you need to see from the ground, looking up? Can you open a window and look out and see if there's any evidence of maintenance?
Yep.
Do you need to physically step on it?
Nope.
Okay? Otherwise, bring yourself your little 3-pound hammer and do what?
But don't you be liable to damage?
I think that's
Why are you
it.
never gonna carry it?
Oh, it's because here, so I don't get hurt. And what I'll do now is like, I'll do my red.
Thorough inspectors, bring your hammer with you. If you don't ever want to step on these things, from the ground, look up at a 2-story or a 20-story. Everything that's going on with that fire escape is in the first 2 levels anyway. It only gets worse as the weather goes up higher. Everything you're gonna, you don't need to walk these anymore.
It's management.
Okay? Guys, Rutgers University, New Brunswick, have you ever seen a fireman pole fire escape?
Now I have.
Oh, I got more. Anybody ever seen a slidescape?
No?
Ever seen a slidescape? I'm gonna show you a slidescape that's gonna blow your mind. I inspect nationwide.
These are-
I've never seen a fireman pole. So now, if you're ever gonna have a fireman pole fire escape, shouldn't you have it at a college where everybody drinks?
Well, that's what we,
And not just one, you should have a double.
Every dog has they're gonna play on it.
It could be a, but you know, it could have multiple use, but right now it's get out in case of, you know, a raid or anything. And there's a slide pole here for a fire
Maybe
escape.
that's where our deputy mayor used to.
Never saw one, but in case you're looking at an opportunity for a firehouse escape system, you know, you guys are used to this anyway.
that's New Brunswick.
That's New Brunswick, that's Rutgers University.
They're not in operation no more, right?
Yeah, this is operational, dude.
This is recent. And of
Yeah,
course-
this is recent.
The bottom of it, you gotta make sure that the grass is cut.
No, you fall on other students down below, they'll cushion your
They're
blow.
gonna have a race.
Only the first guy gets hurt.
Yeah, the first time along, you jump on.
Beer and go.
You guys like it? I find some crazy stuff out there. I got more. Guys, the main thing that's here, right? Fire escapes are made, they're supposed to be for self-evacuation of the tenants, and they're supposed to be for an emergency use by your firemen who only need to use it to get in the building, or in case all hell breaks loose to get out. So, back to this thing. Why did this happen?
But right now, firefighters are taking down the ladders and rolling up the hoses. But earlier in the night, when they pulled up, there were flames coming out of the side of the building. Firefighters say it was one of the scarier moments because when you pull up to a building and you see children and mothers hanging off the side of the fire escape, smoke swirling around them, they said that's scary, scary stuff. They got up there, they got the ladders up, and they said nobody got hurt.
The fire escape, there was 3 or 4 people hanging off the fire escape. They couldn't get off.
They were just on the fire escapes. I had people hanging in their fire escapes at the rear of the building, and on this side of the building, we had a bunch of people on that fire escape.
Well, about 50 people were displaced inside this building. However, firefighters say there's good news tonight. It looks like everybody will be allowed to go back in except the one unit where the fire was in. They said that's good luck to them tonight. I'm Bob Wilson on the scene of Bridgeport, News 8.
I say, a fire escape is gonna always work. It's always gonna work, because it's supposed to be self-evacuation. When it don't work, you got a rescue mission eating up valuable minutes that's gonna kill people.
What was the problem? I don't get it.
Well,
The ladder.
the
Oh,
ladders
the
were
ladder
all-
wasn't coming down.
The ladders wouldn't come down.
It wasn't the one with the chain.
But then,
with
if the
padlock
ladder's
on
not
it.
coming down, there's still this child that says, I'm gonna die here. The child gets
Yeah.
on this ladder, or the mom put the child on the ladder and said, you know, is there any training? You ever train your kid on a ladder? And then how do you jump 12 feet?
It doesn't matter if it's a vacant building, they still gotta be taken care of, right?
Yeah,
Fire
otherwise the
safety.
building has to be identified as a
If it's there, it
hazard.
has to be maintained, if it's a vacant, it has to be registered with Mark's office as a vacant building, then this fire escape has to be chained up and it's secured so vagrants can't get into it.
Well, not only that, we've had that, that's a very good question. On a vacant building, basically what happens, whenever you have the second, third, fourth, and fifth, you basically have to have signage that says fire escape is non-functional. That building becomes a surround and drown building. You don't go in to fight that fire. And whenever you have some sort of documentation that says this is a surround and drown building, what happens to the insurance of that building?
That
Drops. That fire escape, even if it's a vacant building, that fire escape has to be fully functioning now for the firemen to get in
Right,
and get
that's
out.
what I was thinking.
So no vacant building can ever have a non-functioning fire escape.
Well, we also require that all the systems work to be.
The reason we're talking about in here is just because a lot of the downtowns, they're still making money on the first floor, but nobody can make any money on the second floors enough. And as you know, national trend is, you guys are gonna see this, either these buildings are gonna come down completely, or every one of these second and upper floors are gonna become all residential, which is what's happening everywhere in the country. The second, third, fifth, and 20th floors, they're all becoming, you know, these lofts and stuff, and that's what's bringing people back to the downtown. Otherwise, they gotta knock the building down.
You saying that you can't chain the ladder up in a vacant building, the fire escape ladder? In a vacant property?
Again, here's the issue. The fire escape is supposed to be fully functional. You can't chain the ladder up because I have what's called a release arm up there. A release arm lets me release the fire escape ladder. It'll drop 2 to 3 feet per second by itself and hit the ground.
Right.
Cantilevers have release arms that lock them into position so they can't be pulled down by vagrants. You don't chain them, you have release mechanisms put on them so that nobody can pull them down and get access to the building.
Right.
That
But you
entire
still
fire
need
escape
the
must be fully
fireman to be
functional.
able to operate the ladder of it, is that what you're saying?
Say again?
You still, it has to be operable, the ladder for the
Yeah, it must be
fireman?
single action requiring no special knowledge. Locks are not single action. So these ladders or cantilevers would get a release mechanism put on them that are, you can't monkey with them down from down below. And so now what happens is there's a fire in the building and the whole fire escape system is certified. A fireman puts his ladder up against the thing, climbs up and then releases the cantilever. It comes down now, the whole fire department is using it, no chains.
The way we're doing it now on a vacant building, I believe, I just got a list off Mark, we got over 1,000 of them. The city has secured them, bought them up, utilities off, water's off, everything's off. If they have a fire escape, we put it up and we chain it. And what we do as a fire department response, if we have a fire there, they'll put a ladder up to it, cut the chain, now we use it.
Yeah, but you're talking about surround and drown, because a lot of those buildings, you're not gonna go in and fight it anyway.
Exactly, most of them are
Remember,
just.
you just said you put a ladder up to the building, I mean, it's not a surround and drown.
No, he's just that's if they wanted to use the fire escape
If we
for.
want to use the fire escape, we
Right.
put the chain up to keep everybody out, because like you said, the latches aren't there, they just grab it, pull them
Yeah.
down, we'll have vagrants back in them. If we need to use that fire escape, after
No,
the
yeah.
city chains it, we'll just cut the chain and now we'll leave.
Right, but I'm the owner of that building. Normally what happens when you chain it up, you're gonna put a sign that says the fire escape is non-functional, a big ass sign that says
Well,
the
if
fire
we're
escape
gonna
is.
chain it up, you as the owner, you're gonna be in court with either housing and us.
No, I know, I'm just trying to help you guys to say, if the fire escape is identified as a non-functional fire escape, who does that help
The fire-
during a fire? They're gonna come in and surround and drown this building, that's it.
Right.
What we're saying is, if all of a sudden say, no, I wanna keep my insurance, you know, whatever, then we gotta put a proper latch on the release arm. The whole fire escape must be structurally sound, not necessarily painted, as long as it's structurally sound, then we can work with that owner in a long-term plan about what's going on with the rest of that vacant building. But chaining it up, when you chain it up, you also have to identify that the fire escape is a non-functional fire escape. So there must be, you guys have that sign, the big sign with a
Well,
line?
we paint it on the building, yeah.
Yeah,
Need a full
so
access
right there and
back.
then, it's a surrounding ground situation, nobody's going in that building anyway, nobody's gonna use the fire escape. But, this is what we're worried about, that, remember, the old guys tell the new guys, in case of fire, don't use the. But after now? Guys, let's go into the building, ready? Not many people know this, but all fire escapes, this is the veneer. The veneer goes into the wall, the masonry wall is usually 8, 12, 18 inches thick. It's usually made up of of 2, 3 courses of brick with an outside beautiful veneer. So here's your outside beautiful veneer, and here's your dirty bricks on the inside making up the masonry block wall. Every fire escape in the United States is only buried 8 to 12 inches deep into that. That's it. And I'll show you photographs of it, but basically they go into the building or into the wall. But what happens is a lot of people don't realize, and I'll show you on this photograph, there's a little bit of a 3/4 gap between the veneer and the masonry block wall. When you got a parapet wall leaking all year, all its life, where do you think that eats the iron? Behind the veneer. Sometimes you're gonna get stains, we call them dragon's teeth or dragon tears coming out of the rust, rusty tears coming out of the side of a building. That's an indicator that there's water inside getting out. So, this is what the load test will verify. If you load test a fire escape that has bad connections, guess what you're gonna have on the ground? No, a fire escape. That's what the load test will prove. But if we do a proper investigative inspection, I'm supposed to verify this. Because I'm supposed to let you know the unknown. I don't have x-ray visions, but I have other ways to verify that these connections are good. But I need $250 to $500 per connection to do exactly this. Or I let sleeping dogs lie, and 5 inches away, plus minus, I drill a new epoxy bolt that goes through the veneer, and it goes through the wall, and I make sure that it's a good wall inside, obviously. And I epoxy bolt it with a Hilti bolt. And I mechanically fasten it back. Here's another one that we recently did, where the veneer was open, and look what we found. Now a load test on this will cause what kind of problem? A fire escape will go to the ground when you load test it. Okay? So even though the steel outside the building looks great, what's it look like inside the building? It takes 75 years for this to go. You see what this is? This is us verifying a connection. I take a drill with a 3/4 drill and next to the steel, I drill all the way down. And what do I get to see when I put in that little probe? I get to see what kind of material